Polish up those master dice and get your silicone ready, because today we're making cap molds. Ooh, yeah. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Garage Quest shop. Today I wanted to show you how I make cap molds. Now a cap mold is just a two-part mold like this. I believe some people refer to it as slab molds. I find they're really great for working with inclusions and things. I still use sprue molds for certain techniques, but these are fun. And I make mine in a system called the TaCrow Mold system. It's basically just an acrylic box that you use and can reuse with silicone. However, if you don't have one, I'm also at the end of this video going to show you how to use a cookie cutter. Mine's about 3.5 inches in diameter, and they come in handy. So I've got my master dice that I just printed myself, and they're all ready except for the D20. Now the D20 I only made a couple days ago, so it still hasn't degassed enough to put into silicone without causing cure inhibition. So I have sprayed it with some Inhibit X and some Ease Release 200. These products are great if you just want to get to work right away with your home printed masters. So let's start with the TaCrow mold. It is essentially just a box that snaps together nice and tidy like this. The paperwork says that it's a real snug fit. Mine aren't quite that snug, as you can see. I just dropped the bottom out. So I always reinforce it with some tape. But I really do find that this is a great product. This is not sponsored or anything. It's just great. So I'm going to use 4 pieces of tape, 2 to hold the actual box together securely, tightly. You can see I just place that around and brandish it. So now I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing. This is really not to prevent spillage of any kind. This is just to hold the box together as tightly as possible. And once I've done that, I'm going to put 2 more pieces of tape, and those will wrap around from the sides down to the bottom. And the purpose of that will be to prevent any leakage. Acrylic breaks easily. In fact, on the first day of getting my TaCrow molds, I did snap a corner, despite trying to treat the acrylic with tenderness. So it is really important to be careful with your acrylic and to reinforce it with tape. So I'm just doing the other side now. Same deal. Bottom wraps around to the top. Brandish the tape, and there you go. Now I'm going to take this extra little piece the TaCrow mold system gives you, and I'm going to take the flat side, that's the side without the print on it, and I'm just going to line it with double-sided tape. Now I bought my double-sided tape. I bought off-brand double-sided tape from Amazon, and I highly discourage you buy it because it's very thin. As you can see, I needed 2 pieces to cover the width of the insert. And whatever chemical they use in their tape really likes to gather up gunky style on top of the dice. And I end up having to clean my dice between this pour and the next. So I don't recommend it. Maybe go for scotch. I don't know. Now I'm putting my dice face down onto the double-sided tape. Now, I like to put 1s and 0 faces down, and that's because whatever is face down now will be face up in your mold. And whatever is face up in your mold is likely to be the side that you have to sand. If there's any flashing, any disturbances of any sort, you're probably going to have to sand that side. And it is easier, in my opinion, to sand 0s and 1s without losing any of the number or shape than it is to sand 2s or 8s, for instance. But you can do you. Then I just drop this insert into the bottom of the box and, get back in there. And now it is ready for its silicone. Now I did buy 2 of these. I sat and clicked refresh, knowing that TaCrow was going to drop a couple more into the shop. And before the listing ever even posted, I nabbed both of them, and I'm proud of it. Don't come for me. I had to do it. But I'm just doing the same to my second one and readying up my gloves. I also did make a couple sprue molds for my D2s. I just prefer to do D2s in the sprue way. That's my preference. So now I am ready to mix up my silicone. I use Sorta Clear 37. It's equal parts A and B, which makes it really easy to use. It's a translucent platinum silicone, and it has a pretty good tear resistance, and I really prefer it. I've never used anything else with as good of results. So I did some basic junior high geometry here and just measured the volume of a TaCrow mold and then used Google to convert that to liquid ounces. However, because my math skills are not refined as an artist these days, I forgot to compensate for the amount of volume that the dice take up. So you're going to see me use way too much silicone, and that's okay. Sometimes that happens. But at the end of this video, it works out because I will use that silicone to make a cap mold for you out of a cookie cutter. So I'm just pouring equal parts, and like I said, don't worry about the measurements because my measurements weren't correct. But I'm spreading equal parts of A and B across 4 cups because I have very small cups. And then I'm going to mix those up. Be sure to stir your silicone before you pour it to make sure everything is good and mixed well. Sometimes the bottom can get a little different consistency than the top. And now that that's poured, I've got this great Tupperware that I use. I like the width of it so it's easy to stir, and honestly, once the silicone dries, you can just peel it right out of there. Cleanup is easy, and I can always just reuse this Tupperware. So I'm going to go ahead and use these paint sticks to stir the silicone parts together for 3 to 5 minutes. I have 10 minutes of work time, so that is a little nerve-wracking, but I got it done. I got it done quickly, and now I'm ready to pour. So I'm just going to ready my molds here, get them lined up so I prevent any spillage. And let's get a little drum roll here because this is a high wire act. Oh, will she spill it? I don't know. It's a very messy thing to work with, and I have been getting better at it as I go. You know, it's a skill. It's got a learning curve, so you do what you can. So I'm just pouring that in, and you want your silicone to rise 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch above the tallest die. And you want to make sure it spreads evenly throughout the mold so that you don't have an uneven mold. That'll give you a really nice, thick, heavy bottom of your mold. What you're looking at now at the top here, that's going to be the bottom of your cap mold. So you really want it nice and thick. So I'm just going to finish pouring this off here. Can she do it without spilling? Yes, she can. No, she can't. Close enough, though. Just a tad more there, and voila, you have 4 molds ready. Now you can see I still have a good amount of silicone there, but fear not, because where there is time for me to panic, I will panic. And I flew into a last-minute panic, grabbed some single-sided packing tape. I lay 3 pieces slightly overlapped onto my workspace with the sticky side up, just so that I can make a bottom to the cap mold I'm about to create with the cookie cutter. Now, 2 slices can do it, but I like to use 3 just to be safe. I slam my cookie cutter down on there. I fold the sides up to prevent any leakage and start brandishing the tape. wow, I really seem to be doing this delicately, but I was in a panic. Now I'm putting an extra set of masters. I have my Halloween masters in there, making sure they don't touch each other or touch the sides. And I pour, and I made it. And it was just the right amount. I'm adding one more piece of tape around to build a nice wall. And now I'm ready to throw these into the pressure pot for 4 to 6 hours. And by that, I mean 6 hours. Okay, so it's been 6 hours, and now I've got to pull all of the tape off of these molds gently. I don't want to break anything. And once I've gotten all the tape off of the molds, remembering there's only 4 pieces, I will very, very tenderly pull the box apart. So we're going to start with one little side and then very gingerly release the other sides. And once I've done this, you can see what I've got going on here. Show the camera. There you go. There is the bottom still stuck on there, so we release it. And then don't forget, there is still that insert piece that we have to remove. So I'm going to very, very gently release this insert piece, remembering that there is double-sided tape inside, and I try and go ahead and bring that up with the insert, but if not, that's okay. You can peel it off of the dice. And now I might wipe that down if I see any residue. I'm going to grab a razor blade and just tidy up my mold. This isn't necessary, but you can see there are all these little bits that don't need to be there, and I just like to clean it up. So now I have a toothpick, and I just go through the numbers. Some of the numbers somehow end up with a little bit of silicone in them sometimes. So I just like to make sure that there isn't any in there, and if there is, I just pick it right out, and then it's ready. So now I'm going to take the TaCrow mold, and I'm going to build it back up around this mold, but halfway up. See that? So it doesn't go all the way down. We're essentially building a higher mold around this previously cast mold. And then we just do the same process. I do 4 pieces of tape, one around each edge to hold the box together, and then 2 on the bottom to prevent spillage. So I've done the same to my cookie cutter mold here, and now I'm just going to do something I don't have to do for the TaCrow molds, which is make keys. A key is basically just a little notch that you're going to make in your mold so that it's easier to put the cap on properly. And I basically just cut a triangle in 3 spots on the mold about 1 centimeter deep. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3. And that works very well for me. It makes it very easy to place the lid back on when you're using your molds. So now I'm moving on to the final step before silicone, and that is to put a little bit of Vaseline on each part of your mold that is not the face of a die. So any part of your mold that is silicone, inside the keys, the surface of the mold, it needs to be covered in this Vaseline. If you prefer to use mold release, you can spray that down and then wipe the mold release off of the faces of your dice. I just prefer to do it this way. I don't like risking getting anything on the surface of the dice. So I'm just doing that now to the TaCrow mold systems and making sure to get the keys in there as well. And there we go. So now I'm just mixing up silicone just like before, and we're going to pour it into each mold right on top of the old mold. And this will make the top of our cap molds. And once that's done, I throw it back into the pressure pot on my nifty shelf for 4 to 6 hours. And reveal. So that's it. I hope you found this informative and entertaining, and I hope you choose to subscribe. Thanks for watching.